Hello Math 7 class, I hope you're having a good Wednesday, and we're going to get started right away because we have a lot to do. We're going to finish up our last lessons in chapter 11. We're going to do 11.6, which is the circumference of a circle, and 11.7, which is the area of a circle. So let's get started. Father in heaven, we just thank you so much that you're faithful. I pray for all of my students that you would help them to focus and learn well, and that you strengthen me and help me to do the very best that I can as their teacher. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're doing two lessons because they're very important. They will come up a lot in pre-algebra and of course in the future with geometry and algebra and all kinds of things with circles. And so you need to know them and practice them. And also we have until next Wednesday, so you have the day off next Monday, so you will have today, Thursday, Friday, and next Tuesday to get this work done. So I hope that everything goes well with your day. Let's get started. Okay, I have a lot to do, so I'm going to move right through it at a good pace. I already wrote everything down. So feel free to pause the video or rewind it as you need to. Okay, so here we have a circle over here to the right, and I want to label a few things. The distance across a circle is called the diameter. You're probably familiar with that. The diameter runs through the circle. Very important. You can have a segment go across a circle, but it's only the diameter if it goes through the middle. All right, and then this distance here from the middle to the outside, that's the radius. Okay, with that in mind, the circumference is the distance around a circle. Hey Chris, you're really loud. A circle. We still are living at home, as you are too. And he's very apologetic. His voice carries a lot. All right, so the circumference is the distance around a circle, and we can write it two ways, either pi times the diameter or 2 pi times the radius, because the diameter is equal to 2 of the radius. So you see here I have a radius and I have a radius here. To go all the way across the circle, I would have 2 of them. So depending on what information I have or what I want to solve for, I can either use pi d or 2 pi r. Now pi is that magical number that just has to do with circles, that whatever you multiply the diameter, if you multiply the diameter by 3.14, you will get the circumference of the circle. So actually 3.14 comes from 22 over 7. And we talked a little bit about pi, but not really. Right before we left for break, we had our Pi Day celebration. Wasn't that fun? Boy, that was another life ago, wasn't it? Excuse me. If you divide that, it becomes a very interesting number that goes on forever. It never ends. And there's a lot that you can do with that. So anyway, that is always associated with circles. And it's a whole nother lesson to figure out how they determined that. And next year, if you're in my class, which I hope you will be, we will have a whole day of pi celebration and learning facts and where it came from. Okay, so let's do some problems. Let's find the circumference of the circle. Now right here, do you see I have 25 and it's over the middle dot. When you see the number right over the middle, that means that they're giving you the diameter, not the radius. We'll look at the difference in the next problem. So I have d there, so c equals pi d. So I'm going to put 25 in, and if I round 3.14 to that, and I multiply that, I get 78.5. Just as simple as that. All we're doing is substituting in numbers. It's really not that hard. I'm sure you're all going to do great. And you just have to understand the concepts. All right, so let's do the next one. Find the circumference of the circle. So this time I've got the 21. Now do you see the difference here? The number is over one side. Even if we had the whole thing here, if the 21 is not over the middle, but it's over one side, that means the radius. So be very careful that you can see the difference between these two things. I can't tell you how many students in the past have made mistakes on their tests because they thought this was the radius. So don't do that, okay? I know that you can do better. So we just have to remember, that's all. Because I have the radius, I'm going to put that in and put 21 in. And I'm going to multiply my two numbers together, so I get 42 pi. And then I'm going to multiply 42 times 3.14, and I get approximately 132. So that's my answer. Okay, I want you to do a couple. So go ahead and pause the video, do those two examples, and we will come back in just a moment. Okay, so let's go over these together. I have the radius this time, so I've got c equals 2 pi radius. So 2, and I'm going to put 9 in. So I end up with 18 pi, and that works out to be about 56.52 millimeters. And it stays millimeters, it's length, not area. So we're not squaring, okay? Number 2, I've got the 49 over the middle, so that tells me I have my diameter. So I'm going to have 49 pi, and if I multiply 49 by 3.14, I get approximately 154 inches. So the distance all the way around would be 154 inches. Okay, now we're going to do a word problem. I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to look at this picture. Isn't that pretty? It was taken by Shutterstock, so we can kind of see that in the middle, but that's all right. We can see how pretty that is. Have any of you ever been to the Sequoia National Forest? It is a wonderful place to go. We've been there, oh my goodness, the Walk of 100 Giants. It's really spectacular. You can walk into some, around some, through some. We camped there. It was actually a wonderful time. So I hope that if you haven't been there, you get to go sometime. The largest living tree in the United States is a giant sequoia in Sequoia National Park in California. Its trunk is roughly circular and has a circumference of 1,231 inches. That's a lot. What is the tree's diameter at ground level? Okay, so we've seen the picture, big, beautiful trees. So let's go back. I wrote it out for you already, and there we go. So we have the circumference equals, I want to find the diameter. That equals pi d. So this time I have the circumference, and now I want to solve for the diameter. So I'm going to put 3.14 in here, and I'm going to get the d by itself. So I'm going to divide by 3.14. These cancel, and when I work that out, I get 392 inches. That's the diameter. So if you work that out, that's about 33 feet. It is huge. I'm in my living room right now. It is wider than my living room. 33 feet is like 3 stories high, and if you put that on the ground. So it's really a very huge tree. Okay, I want you to try one of those. So what I want you to do is pause the video and go ahead and do this problem. All right, let's go over it together. The largest limb of the tree is about 256 inches. Find its diameter. So here's my formula, and I'm going to put 256 in here and 3.14, and then I solve it like a regular equation. Divide by 3.14, and I get a diameter of 81.5 inches. So think about that. That's like 6 feet across, a limb. There are trees that are many trees. Most trees are skinnier than that, and this is just a limb. Okay, now I want to talk about something. If they had asked instead for the radius, you wouldn't be using this equation. You would be doing this one. Okay, so you would have to solve for r, and you would have a 2 in there. So you want to divide by 2 pi, okay, and you would work that out. So that would be 2 times 3.14. So you wouldn't be dividing by 3.14, you would divide by 6.28. Okay, so just make sure that you're using the correct formula for that. That's the only place where you might get tripped up on this. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next lesson, which is lesson 11.7. You can keep going. And this is about the area of a circle, all right? So we have the formula. I know many of you are familiar with it. It looks like this. The area equals pi r squared. So we're not looking at the distance around, like this, that's circumference. We're looking at the area, okay? And we use the radius. Now, if we have the diameter, we can still figure it out. Okay? So, let's do some problems using that formula. Find the area of the circle. So, I'm going to write my formula, pi r squared. And I have the 3 in the middle of the radius here, so I just substitute that. Now I have a power I have to deal with. It's not 3 times 2. Be careful. 3 squared means 3 times itself twice. So that's going to be 9. 9 pi. And when you multiply 9 times 3.14, you get about 28.26. All right. Now I want to show you a picture. I'm going to read a problem out loud. This is our word problem for this lesson. Isn't that beautiful? Have you ever been to the circus? We took my son and my mother to the circus. I think it was last spring. We saw Vargas Circus was at the Spectrum, or no, it was in Laguna Hills Mall parking lot, and we just on a whim went and had the best time. It was so much fun. Really amazing. So I'm going to read it. The central performance area at a circus is a circular ring having a diameter of 42 feet. Find the area of the ring. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to know the area of the ring? Well, that would be very important because how much you can see here in this picture, they've got dirt in there. And that's because they're probably going to have horses or animals come in. Or oftentimes there's carpet down. They put down a wooden floor. They come in with their own floor. How much carpet are they going to buy? How big is it going to be? How much wood do you need? There's a lot of reasons to need to know the area of that circle. Okay, so let's go back. Now, I already wrote down the important facts. The circus center ring has a diameter of 42 feet. Find the area. So I have my pi r squared, and I'm going to have pi and the diameter. Now, be careful. Diameter is 42. We don't have diameter. but the radius is half the diameter. So I take the radius and I divide it in 2, and that's what I use. So be careful what you're solving for, okay? So I'm going to put 21, don't let that scare you. 21 times itself is 441, okay? And if I work that out, 441 times 3.14, I get about 1,386 square feet. Now be careful, with area, it's squared, because we're not looking at one dimension, like circumference or length, that's one dimension. We're looking at 2 dimensions, so it's squared with a 2, all right? So now I want you to go ahead and find the area of these 2 problems. You can pause the video and we'll come back in just a moment. All right, so let's do this. I've got the area is pi r squared. So I'm going to show my work by putting the 8 in. And then I get 64 pi, and if I multiply that, I get about 200.96 millimeters squared, okay? Now, if the diameter is 14 for number 2, the radius will be 7, and I'm going to put 7 in there. That means 7 times 7, not 7 times 2. So I have 49 pi, and if I work that out, I get about 154 square inches. Okay? We're almost done. We're going to do just a couple more. All right, so here's the next one. A circular pond in a park has an area of 615.44 square yards. What is the radius? So this time I know the area in my formula, but I don't know the radius, okay? So I'm going to put 615.44 in for the A. And I'm going to try to solve for that. Okay, so if I divide both sides by pi, let's see how that works out. Well, that means 615.44 divided by 3.14. And if I work that out, I get 196 equals r squared. And the square root of 196 is 14. So you have to ask yourself, what multiplies by itself to be 196? Okay, so we know 10 times 10 is 100. We need more than that. 11 times 11 is 121. 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. We're getting closer. And 14 times 14 is 196. So this would be 14 yards. Okay, I would like you to do we're going to do one more. So find the area of the shaded region. So now it's going to get a little bit more complicated. We're going to combine what we've learned in the previous lessons to figure this out. So you see the shaded region is this funny shape here. So you have to look at it and go, oh, whoops, I forgot to write this here. How am I going to figure that out? Well, my shaded region, which looks about like that, is equal to the whole thing minus half a circle. So I have to figure out the area. So my steps are to figure out the area of the square and the area of the semicircle, and then subtract them. So I want to take this area here of the semicircle out of the square. Okay, so let's do the whole thing. This is a square, so the area is side squared, which is 5 squared, which is 25. All right, now I need to find the area of my circle, so I'm going to do pi 5r squared, which, oh, hang on, now I'm going really fast here. Look at this. What is the radius? I need the radius here. Well, 5 is the whole thing. The radius is half. So here, the radius is 2.5. Now, see, I was going really fast. That would be a really easy mistake for me to make. You have to be careful and figure out what the radius is before you go any farther, okay? So I'm going to work that out. 2.5 times 2.5 is 6.25. And if I multiply that by pi, I get 19.625. Okay, now that is the area of the whole circle, right? But I only want the area of half of the circle because I've got a semicircle here. So I'm going to divide this by 2. So I end up with 9.8125. Okay, so to find my area now, I'm going to have the whole thing, which is 25, minus 9.8125. And I ran out of room here, so I'm going to rewrite this down here. 25 minus 9.825, and I get 15.1875. And that is my area. Oh, these were centimeters, so I have centimeters squared. Okay? So in summary, you don't look at the area of this weird thing. You think, what shapes are in the picture that I recognize? What do you recognize? Well, we recognize a square and a semicircle. And then we just subtract them.
That one right there.
And they're talking again, please. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and try these two. Suppose the pond has an area of 107.46. Find the radius and find the area of this shape. So I will give you just a few minutes. Go ahead and pause the video and we will come back. We're just about finished. All right, so let's work this out. We're going to have area equals pi r squared. So I get 907.46 equals 3.14 times r squared. I'm going to divide. Let's see what I get. Okay, I get 289. Did you get that? And if I take the square root, that works out to be 17. So the radius is 17. All right, down here, I need to look at my shape here. So I have my whole big shape is equal to my square plus my semicircle. All right, that's going to give me the whole thing. So I want to find the area of this and the area of this, and this time I'm going to add them together. Because you can see, excuse me, my whole shape, I can break it up into two things that I recognize, which are a square and a semicircle. All right, so the area of the square is going to be 6 times 6. Which is 36. That's pretty easy. The area of the circle, now be careful. What's the radius? The radius only goes to one side, so that's going to be 3, half of that. So I've got pi r squared, which is pi times 3 squared, which is 9 pi. Okay? Now, I take 9 times 3.14 and I get 28.26. Now be careful, I only want half. I want half the circle. So I'm going to take 28.26 and divide that in 2. And I get 14.13. Okay, so now my area is going to be 36 plus 14.13, which is 50.13. Okay, and that is inches squared. All right, so that's it. I hope you have a great weekend and lots of success. And we will be in touch. I'll be sending you the email soon with your homework. Bye now.